Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! Here goes the mother! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
We need if we can survive!
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again virtually, my good brother from the Bulletcast, it's Philip. How's it going, Philip?
What's going on, Baby Huey? I'm a little distraught, you know. You are once again the Bulletcast champion.
Yeah, baby.
Two-time, baby. Two-time. I mean, look, I have never lost at an AEW event. They've had like 6 pay-per-views. You go like double nothing last year up until now. I'm like 5-1. You know, it's a nice little record. But it's okay, man. Clash of Champions is coming up. I'm looking to take my bad boy back. It's okay. Keep my baby warm for me.
Okay, all right. Big words coming from you. All right, I'll take that. No, it feels so good, man. I figured, let's celebrate my big weekend. Got back the Bulletcast Championship. So it was only gone for what, 1 week or 2 weeks?
13 days.
13 days. SummerSlam. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah. And if you please could share with all the Kliqsters out there, what was my record from this weekend?
You only got 1 wrong out of 9 matches, so yeah, man.
Which I'm pissed, and we'll get into that in a little bit, why am I pissed, that 1 loss, and I'll explain in a little bit. But, yes, once again, thank you again to all the Kliqsters out there for joining on this week's episode of In The Kliq. As always, please remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, YouTube at In The Kliq. Please rate, comment, and share the podcast. Thank you to everyone who have been doing that as of late. Please, if you haven't done so yet, go back a couple episodes, listen to my interview with the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. That was so cool talking to her, and we'll kind of break that down a little bit in regards with her match as well, but very fun talking to her, and thank you to everyone for sharing that. Her husband shared it online. I saw that, so it was very cool, and it was a very fun weekend. Here we're going to talk about AEW All Out from this past weekend, and as always, we'll give our initial thoughts about the pay-per-view, and then we'll break down each individual matches as always. And so, Philip, let's just start it out. First things first, just give me kind of your initial takeaways, your thoughts on this pay-per-view, and then, we'll go down through the card.
I'm not going to lie, man. It felt mediocre to me. Yeah. I'm just going to keep it real. There were things I did like. There were some things I didn't like. Mm-hmm. On my recap with the Bulletcast, go check that out. I gave it a C, just a flat-out C. Yeah. Just average, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, it's for me, I'll say this. I don't want to give this disclaimer. If you were to talk to me on Saturday night, my opinion would be a little bit different compared to how I'm feeling now, a couple days later. And I'll explain as far as, okay, Saturday night, I had a really strong negative opinion about the pay-per-view. I honestly thought it was their worst one ever to date in their short time frame as a company. And there was just a lot of negative stuff from that show that I was focusing on. But now that a couple days has passed, and also I was able to rewatch it throughout Sunday since it was like a 4-hour show. I spent most of Sunday kind of watching parts here and there. So I rewatched it, and my opinion changed a little bit for the better. And then I've had a couple nights to sleep on it, and just kind of hearing other people talk about the pay-per-view, I was able to kind of lighten up and kind of enjoy it more for what it was. And so I guess my main reason why I had a negative opinion about the show was obviously the whole Matt Hardy situation, which we'll get into, and a couple other matches, how they played out. And so I was like, I really was like frustrated how this show went. But then after rewatching it and not getting so caught up in the Matt Hardy situation, just focus on each match for what they were, I realized there was a lot of good wrestling on this show still. And overall, I felt the roster worked their ass off. And from a wrestling standpoint, still a good show. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to break down from this show, especially because there's so many matches. But I just want to put that disclaimer out there. And I'm glad we're recording this now a couple days later since the show happened. Listen, I know a lot of people, it's like, I feel like whenever there's a big pay-per-view, there's always that rush to record right after the show, turn around, get it out there as fast as you can for everyone to listen to. It's like this race to be the first to get your review out there for the world to see. And I get it, because as soon as a pay-per-view is done, everyone wants to talk about it. And so for a lot of people, they want to hear other shows, what they have to say, and see if their opinions line up with them or not. You know, it's going back to the water cooler talk as far as something we all have similar interests in. We want to hear what other people think about it. So I get that. And I wanted to be, you know, also record something right away after the show. But then, you know, I was like, I need a couple nights to just breathe and sleep on it. And now that I've had a couple nights to sleep on it, it's like, okay, I have a better opinion about this show. And there was a lot of things I was able to, after watching it a second time, there's a lot of things I enjoyed more about this show. And like I said, we'll get into that. So, first things first, let's just go ahead and talk about, the buy-in. So we had two matches and they were both announced, I think, day of, if I remember correctly. Was that right, Philip? They were kind of like last minute announcements.
Yeah, because they had switched Baker and Swole to the main card after the internet bullied Tony Khan into doing so. Yeah. So we had Joey Janela, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Going up against Sir. I don't even know that guy. What's that guy's name?
Sir Serpentico. Yeah.
Isn't that the guy that Sammy Guevara pretended to be in the audio? Okay,
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, do we ever see how that happened? Like, I don't know if it was I don't watch Being the Elite regularly, so I don't know if that was something they did there. But I wish they would have shown some footage of maybe like Sammy trapping Serpentico backstage somewhere, beating him up and taking his outfit and doing the switcheroo there that we saw when Sammy made his big return on Dynamite after being suspended for like a month. So we never got to see that. I mean, we can assume that's what happened, but yeah, that's the guy Sammy Guevara dressed up like when he made his big return a couple months, or God, last month now. It's been
something like that. The time has flown in this crazy time.
What'd you think of that opening match for the buy-in?
I had never heard of whatever his name is.
Serpentico.
I'm just going to call him Masked Man.
Masked Man.
Yeah, I had never heard of this guy before, never seen his work. It was I could have saw this on AEW Dark, I'm being completely honest with you. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's, you know, it did its job. I mean, it was just an opener, get the crowd, or the small crowd that was in attendance at Daly's place, fired up. And listen, you know, it did its job. Like I said, neither one of them I don't know too much about. Even Joey Janela. It's interesting, and this is something I guess we could talk about right now, is where AEW is at right now versus a year ago, how drastically their roster has changed. And I think personally for the better, as far as bigger names, bigger wrestlers itself. And so, like, last year, Joey Janela was like one of their early signings as a company and had that one great match with Moxley, the hardcore match. And now, where he's at with the promotion, you know, he's on the buy-in show now. So it just shows how much the roster has grown and just how much more, like, I want to say better, if that's the right term. Like, no offense.
I mean, you can say it. He's Jobber or Jace.
Yeah, I mean, like, I hate to say it, but yeah, Joey Janela, he doesn't have like a big appeal to me personally. I know he has a big indie following or his body of work from the last couple of years, but as far as, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people that they signed last year who have kind of fallen to the sideline now because they've been able to grow and add better pieces in the last year. And so there's a lot of people that they signed last year that was like, oh my God, here's our first like early batch of superstars to the roster. But yeah, they've changed and grown so much in the last year that a lot of those people that they signed last year were making a big deal out of, not that big of a deal anymore. And that could be an ongoing subject matter that we talk about from time to time based on who's being used on Dynamite each week. But yeah, Joey Janela, I don't personally see that guy growing past the mid-card scene, to be honest.
It's okay. He's a bad boy.
Exactly. Penelope Ford moved on to something better too. So
wow, why are we throwing shade? Hey, speaking of them, real quick, when I was at StarCast, I didn't know they had broken up. And
no.
And then so they're doing a photo op together, and then she's like in a rush to get out of there, and then I see her on her Instagram, she's with Kip, and I'm like, oh, that must be awkward for those guys.
So, I mean, listen. So, yeah, they did their thing as far as getting the crowd going. And so this show, if I remember correctly, was, 15% capacity? So they had about...
they moved up the capacity a little bit?
Yeah, so I think it was either 12 or 15%. I'm not quite sure the numbers, but they had at least over 500 people there spread out on the concourse level as far as the 100 and 200 section of seats that they have built in there. So they were spread out, and that's something I want to get into is also the fan base from that night, or lack thereof, throughout most of the night. So, next match on the buy-in show, we saw Private Party take on the Dark Order, the combo of Alex Reynolds and John Silver. This match I actually enjoyed. I mean, Private Party, I think, are so fun. I really think they're the future of AEW's tag team division. And the Dark Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver, man, those guys also hard-hitting, high-flying as well. Like, I really enjoyed just the chemistry between these two groups. How about you? Your thoughts on these two going at it?
I mean, I've been critical of Private Party over the last few months. Like, I guess we could say spot monkey, sure. I would say like a lot really choreographed.
Yeah.
At times it did, and it felt like that in this match, but not really. Like it flowed pretty well, and I thought all four men involved did their part extremely well, and yeah, it worked, you know. And plus, you know, Dark Order guys, we know what we're doing. Join darkorder.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, I would say with Private Party, I think they're still very green. They're still very young. They still have a ways to go, I think, to reach that top shalong. I say shalong, but that top group of the tag team division. I think there's a lot of building they got to do still. I think you just need more reps, more matches under their belt to grow. And so I think this is a good spot for them as far as just getting some screen time on a pay-per-view or on the buy-in at least. I still think they're months away from maybe really moving on up, and I would hope maybe 2021 is going to be a year for them to really break out. But I still think they just need time to grow. So it's going to be interesting what direction Private Party goes in for the better for their career. So
absolutely, man. You know, who needs the tag team titles when you have the top shalong?
The top shalong. Yeah, I'm the top shalong. So we jump into the main show for the night, and man, this turned into, 11 matches total for All Out. So there was a lot of like last minute matches being added and like stuff throughout the week. So, as you mentioned, Philip, so one of the matches that was scheduled for the buy-in got moved up to the main show, which was the tooth and nail match between Big Swole and Britt Baker. And this is an ongoing feud that's been going on for a while now between the two of them. And this was finally the match between the two of them, because Britt Baker's been in a wheelchair. She's been injured for the last couple months. So their confrontations have been revolving around the wheelchair and Britt Baker's golf cart and Rebel or Reba, whatever you want to call her, driving the golf cart and her involvement as well. So finally, I guess Britt Baker is well enough to at least have a match now. This match was tooth and nail. It was a cinematic match done at Britt Baker's dentist's office. So this match itself, while I'm glad it got bumped up to the main show for a couple things. One, like, real talk, having more female presentation on the main show outside the women's championship match. I think it was nice just having at least a second match on the show so more women are represented on the pay-per-view. I think that's cool. But as far as it being the opener, I would have had it maybe a little bit later in the show, especially because it was a cinematic match. So I'm just thinking, if you're watching on TV, like, you see this buy-in, you see these two matches beforehand, and to start the pay-per-view, they go to a pre-taped thing off-site instead of a match in the ring to get the crowd going. I'll give my thoughts about the match itself, but I just want Philip your thoughts on the match itself.
That's the thing. Tony Khan kind of had to spoil it that it was a cinematic match because, like I said, the people were bullying him on the internet, like, why aren't they on the main card? They deserve to be. And, like, honestly, dude, like, I thought this was going to be like a tooth extraction match because what we've seen in WWE with the eyeballs.
Yeah.
I would have popped if somebody's tooth got extracted. I would have popped hard. I'm not going to lie. I kind of still feel the same, but I think I feel like a little bit more positive than I did Saturday night. If this was a regular match, I would have loved to see these women get like 15 minutes in the ring, sure. But for it to be cinematic, it was okay. Rebel Reba, whatever she did, she played her part.
Yeah.
I felt like they should have done a little bit more. Like there was just like forearms and punches.
Yeah.
I get it's supposed to be a fight, but like a little bit more.
Yeah.
Throw a body slam in there or two, something like that. I liked the syringe in the leg. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And then Britt Baker getting the Novocaine, the gas.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, all right. I guess that's a nice way to win.
Yeah.
I feel like she recovered from that too quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm with you. I thought overall the match was a little too goofy for a cinematic match, but I guess maybe that was the point since they're filming off-site. It's not a traditional pro wrestling match, so they're able to have a little more liberty in that sense as far as, okay, we could be a little more goofy because we're in a different setting. But as far as the presentation, yeah, Swole shows up. She walks in. Rebel is behind the desk with her mask on, and she's trying to do like a weird accent. And then she gives the clipboard. Swole hits her with the clipboard as she's screaming to Britt Baker that she's here. It's like, wait, weren't you expecting her to be there anyway? Like, I don't know. Anyway,
she was just giving her a heads up. That's all.
But I thought like the actual wrestling. So listen, I don't know what Britt Baker's actual status health wise is. I'm guessing she's better in order to have this type of match, but I get it. They're fighting mostly in these like small dentist rooms and narrow hallways. I just felt like maybe because of like the small setting, they weren't able to really like lay into their punches or just be more that aggressive. Like I felt like a lot of these punches being thrown were very softly thrown and just weren't hitting too hard. It didn't look believable to me in that sense, when it comes to wrestling. And so that's what kind of threw me off as far as I'm watching this. And it's like, it's just the way that they're attacking each other. It's not super hard or aggressive. And like I said, I don't know, it's because of the setting. I don't know. I would love, how did that plan come together? Did Britt Baker go to her boss and be like, excuse me, so-and-so, can I borrow this off at your office for us, like, I don't know, whatever day they filmed it, on a Sunday afternoon to record? Sure. What's it for? We're gonna record.
I thought that was like her office.
Oh, does she own it? Own the property?
I don't know if she owns the property, but I think like that's like she's the head dentist in charge.
Okay. Well, what I'm getting at is it's like you could tell like they took everything off the walls if there was anything. I know dentist office usually don't have a lot of stuff, decorations, but it looked like they cleaned it of everything. So if they're going to be flying around in the hallways, they're going to be doing that much damage to the walls. I mean, there was one chair that got broken apart at the end, but it was funny. It looked like maybe AEW doesn't have the biggest budget to spend on like damages on an outside piece of property. So like I said, from the actual wrestling, the fighting, I wasn't too believable for me. And then they went outside to the back area, and I enjoyed that part where they're fighting on top of the golf cart. Rebel got knocked into the trash bin, came out with a banana peel on her head. And then I did enjoy the finish, as you said, Philip, as far as Britt Baker and Swole were fighting on a dentist chair. Actually, real quick, earlier in the match, or before the match started, we saw like the blood on the floors of the dentist's office, and Britt Baker was kind of having like a more horror presentation, like she was trying to lurk around and hunt out Big Swole. But and then jumping back to the ending, as far as they go into another room, Britt Baker has like what do you call it? The
syringe?
No, the electric screwdriver.
The drill.
The drill, I'm sorry. And she's like trying to go after her, and then she hits the chair and drills a hole in the chair, which I was like, whoa, that's pretty intense. But yeah, I did enjoy as far as she took the needle out and was going to try to give her some Novocaine, but ultimately stab herself in the thigh. So, hey, kudos to Britt Baker to actually, if that was legit, like stabbing herself in the leg, regardless if there was any liquid in the actual the needle, but to actually stab herself. Hey,
wait, didn't they cut? Like they showed the syringe, and didn't they cut away then go back to it? I think it was like one of those like the fake spring.
Oh really?
Spring needles.
I gotta double check.
I haven't watched it back since Saturday. I'd have to double check too.
Well, and so I thought that was great because then Britt Baker was like walking around like her leg was limp and like was dead and she couldn't do anything, and that obviously hurts her because she likes using the super kicks from time to time. But then we saw Britt Baker. Then Swole grabbed the the gas mask and puts it on Britt Baker's face and knocks her out. And the ref raised her arm and it went straight back down. So I thought that was like, and so then Swole got the win there because Britt Baker wasn't able to continue, was knocked out. So I enjoyed the finish. Of all things considered, how goofy the match was. I enjoyed at least the finish. That was pretty creative overall. So that made up for my initial feeling about the whole match. Like I said, I kind of wish it was maybe later on in the show as a little bit of a filler in between some stuff, but nonetheless, it was entertaining for what it was. And then next up, the second match of the show was the tag team match between the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express, which is Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Man, so here's my thing. I don't know for other people out there who like to live tweet during a wrestling pay-per-view. For me, it's tough because like I'm trying to watch the show, but I'll see something interesting happen and I want to give my viewpoint about it. So I'm quickly trying to type it out on my phone, and I feel like I'm staring at my phone for like 30 seconds and I'm missing all the action in the ring. So I feel like when I'm live tweeting during a pay-per-view, I'm missing a lot of big moments. So when I went back to watch it a second time, I was able to enjoy this match a lot more for what it was. Because when I watched it the first time, I was like, it's like, all right, it's your typical Young Bucks type of paper or a tag team match. And I felt like I missed a lot of stuff. But then when I watched it a second time, it was a lot better than I saw it the first time. So how about you, Phil? What were your takeaways from this matchup?
I think this was a star-making performance for Jungle Boy. Mm-hmm. I mean, just the resiliency he put forth in this match going up against the Bucks. I think they hit him with a Meltzer driver and he kicked out or something like that. Kicking out of the super kicks. Luchasaurus with the tope plancha all the way to the fans. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's actually impressive. I'm glad he started doing something different.
Yeah.
And the finish with the BTE trigger, and then them really just laying it in to Jungle Boy. That's showing that more seriousness that we've seen the Bucks as of late since Hangman cost them an opportunity at the tag titles. Yeah, I thought it was nice.
Yeah, that's the big interesting about this match as far as Young Bucks in the last couple of weeks now have been, quote, a little more aggressive. That's what everyone's been saying, that they're more aggressive, a little more edgier now. And so, if anything, as far as the presentation, they were definitely a little more heelish in this matchup, even though technically it's two baby faces tag teams, which, by the way, so I was a little annoyed how this match came to be. Remember, it was on Dynamite. It was the four of them taking on another force.
It was SCU and I forgot.
I know, yeah. But anyway, what I'm saying is it was a weird, like kind of a stupid stipulation. It's like the winner of this match, the two teams will face each other at All Out, and I'm like, wait, so you win, so you have to face these guys at another match? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. But I think JR on Dynamite tried to explain it as, well, of course you want a match on the pay-per-view. It's an extra payday for you. So I guess as a way to kind of describe what the motivation is. I just thought it was kind of a stupid stipulation. It's like, well, can't you do something a little more creative to get them here? But it's like, you ultimately tag someone in order to fight them later. So, I mean, it's like, it just, to me, it didn't make sense. It's like, okay, we got to be on the same page. We got to be friendly here in order to fight each other later. So I just didn't like that motivation.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done the winners of this match face each other at All Out for an opportunity at the tag titles later on.
Yeah.
But then again, with what happened later on in the show, you don't want to give that big match away too soon.
Yeah, and then also Young Bucks specifically, they were just in the gauntlet the week before. So they already lost the opportunity, but then a week later, they have a chance of getting it again. So I get you. I just didn't like the stipulation and just how they got to this match. I just thought it was kind of stupid. But anyway, like you, I thought it was a big moment for Jungle Boy. So I will say this, Luchasaurus, he's, I think, the best, again, a hot tag in all of AEW. Jungle Boy, he gets his ass kicked the majority of the match, and then he gets the hot tag, and Luchasaurus comes running in, taking out everyone. He's become so fun to watch. And just Jurassic Express, I see why they have them around. Ultimately for little kids. I think little kids love them. I mean, you got the big dinosaur, and then you got Jungle Boy, who looks like just a large sized kid himself. So
Baby Tarzan.
So I can see why younger fans will really love this team. They're very much like larger than life cartoon personalities. So I can see where the popularity comes from. But yeah, Jungle Boy, God, I don't know how many times he's faced the Young Bucks in recent months, but he's been getting his ass kicked the majority of these matches. He takes a beating every time. So I kind of want to see him separate himself from the Young Bucks. No more beatings from them. They need to all go in different directions, stay away from each other. But I was laughing. I put this on Twitter. I think Jungle Boy has more kickouts at a pay-per-view than Johnny Gargano does at an NXT takeover. The guy, I'm so used to him now just taking these beatings either on TV or at pay-per-view, and then he gets a big kick out. So he's becoming, despite his smaller size, he's like Superman in the ring.
He's become the near-fall king.
Yeah, so I guess for me, it's a little tough because it's I feel like he'll get all these finishes and all these big moves done on him, and then he kicks out. So it's it kind of, I think, diminishes some of these moves from other tag teams, and it's just, they're making him way too powerful in that situation. But I get it.
The thing is, the amount of hair that he has, they're not really affecting him that much. Yeah, so he'll get a little buzz, oh, okay, but I'm still able to kick out. That's all it is.
Yeah. It's interesting because listen, I get what they're trying to do. I see that they see big things with Jungle Boy. And I think the Young Bucks or Cody or whoever, the members of the Elite, have said in the in the press within the last years, Jungle Boy, they feel like he's going to be a star of the company. He's a long-term project. They say big things from him. And so he's the future of AEW. So with that being said, I just want to know how they're going to get there, because right now, I don't see him as a main eventer yet. And listen, I know you can't do it overnight. It takes time to organically build up someone. But I just want to ask you, what would it take to get Jungle Boy to be a main eventer? Because listen, eventually he's going to have to break away from Luchasaurus and become a solo star and get that singles push. And in order to go up to that next spot in his career, what everyone predicts he's going to be at eventually, something's going to have to happen and change. So I just want to ask you, what do you think needs to happen for Jungle Boy to move up to, quote, that main event title scene?
Well, there's a couple things you can do. A, he could win a casino battle royale because they have 3 of them every year. Or B, you can do what happened here in APW. He started getting on the card. He was in mid-card matches, lower level matches, and then as time progressed, we started getting over with the fans and put him in a battle royal. Oh my God, he's gonna do it, but he doesn't do it. He's one of the last guys in there, and then gradually it goes and goes and goes, and they have Dark where the win and loss records matter. He could just be killing guys on Dark, and throw them up oh, this is what happened on Dark last night with Jungle Boy. Throw him up, and eventually the record grows, and he becomes a number one contender. And fans, since they're back in attendance, they're going to keep coming back eventually. Yeah. His star power will start to rise, and he could be in there. You saw him in the ring with Jericho. Jericho, kid, really? You think so? You can't last 10 minutes with me. You lasted 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Little stuff like that, man.
Okay. Yeah, I like you said, organically, it's going to take time to get him, build him up. But, I'm a fan of his too. Of course, you and I, we saw him wrestle for years down here, APW, also Pro Wrestling Revolution. He's done a lot of work here in the Bay Area. So we're all huge fans of him. And I do expect big things for him long term. And I can see why the powers that be in AEW see him as a main event player down the road. So I was just thinking, I'm watching him and I was like, how is he going to get there? Because I see him, he just takes these beatings in the ring, and Luchasaurus always gets the hot tag. and then the two of them help each other out, and then they get a win. Well, they lost here against the Young Bucks, but of course, he still was made up like as this star, and despite the beating, he still was presented as a super tough guy. So I'm like, okay, they're still laying down the foundation that he is a future star for them in the rising process. But I'm thinking, like, what does he need to do? Eventually, I think maybe he's got to drop the Jungle Boy name and maybe either go by Jack Perry or something. I think also he's eventually have to change his look a little bit. I think like some different gear other than the Tarzan look. So, and then he doesn't do a lot of talking on the microphone. I think he's got to work on his mic skills too and develop a personality and charisma that way. So, like I said, I want to see big things from Jungle Boy. I'm a fan of his, but I think it's going to take some time to build up to that. So that's ultimately why I wanted to bring up. It's just when I watch this match, I see this the beginning of the long-term project for him and evolving him into that main event scene. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do next for him. And then next up after that, so like I said, overall, still a great match. So what I'm getting at is when I watched it the second time, it was your basic Young Bucks match on a pay-per-view, super athletic, everyone doing a bunch of high-flying spots. It was a lot of fun. So, I mean, that's what you expect when it comes to a Young Bucks match. Next up, we saw the 20-man Casino Battle Royale. The winner was going to get a future AEW World Championship match. And, man, a lot to talk about in this match. We'll kind of go through as fast as we can. But, Philip, your thoughts on this match?
The 21-man Casino Battle Royale. We had the big surprise of Matt Sydal. He was evidently born in WWE, and contrary to his WWE song, he was not born to fly, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Have you seen the meme? It's like his face on Roman's body. Wreck yourself and leave.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
look,
listen,
I hope he's okay.
Yeah,
I really do.
Listen, I know. Okay, so yeah, let's jump right there. So they had 21 people in the match, and the 21 spot, the Joker position, was Matt Sydal. He was the big surprise entrant. Comes out, big pop celebration from the crowd, and then he goes over to the corner, jumps up on the top rope, and he wants to do shooting star press.
Yeah.
He slipped and had a nasty fall. Luckily, he was able to kind of catch himself, looks like in the air, and just fall straight down onto his back. It could have been a lot worse. Thank God it wasn't. And he's okay now. I think he put on Twitter he's okay. So I think, in the moment, it was very scary to watch. And of course, we don't want to laugh at someone potentially hurting himself really bad. But now that, in hindsight, he's out there saying on record on Twitter that he's okay now, and he was just a little embarrassed. I mean, that's why we're able to joke a little bit about it now with all the memes out there. But yeah, super nasty fall. I watched that. I was like, oh, ouch. I was like, man, WrestleBotch is going to have plenty of content after this match here.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, he was going to do the shooting star press on Will Hobbs. Shout out to Will. That's town business. Great to see the Bay Area represented at this pay-per-view with Jungle Boy and Will and Thunder Rosa later on. It was cool. I think the cringeworthy moment was Darby Allin being put in the body bag with the tacks and just being powerbombed on the stage. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, shout out to Will Hobbs for being a part of this Battle Royal. I thought that was very cool. And also, he was the one that was going to get the shooting star press from Matt Sydal, formerly known as Evan Bourne. So I want to give him props because after Sydal landed on his back, you could tell Will Hobbs rolled over and was like grabbing him and like probably whispering, "Are you okay?" So, the professional that Will Hobbs is looked like he was checking up on Matt Sydal, make sure that he was okay after that nasty fall. But I'm glad he's okay now, and we can just joke about how bad it was, how bad of a botch it was. But I thought like the first half of this Casino Battle Royale was pretty good. I thought the second half, it got really messy and got really overbooked. And with that being said, it got, like I said, it became too chaotic, and it was just like, it kind of took me out of it. As you said, the one spot where, Brian Cage is in there, Darby Allin's in there, Ricky Starks grabs up the body bag, they throw it in the ring. There's also another bag in there full of thumbtacks. They dump it all in there. And Brian Cage is putting Darby Allin in the body bag. But I thought it was funny. If you watch it closely, there was an overhead shot. You can see Darby Allin is helping Brian Cage put himself in there. Like he was like lifting up his body and using his one arm to get the body bag out from under him so he can put himself in there. So I was like, Darby, stop it. Like, from kayfabe purpose, if anything, you should be fighting to go in there, not helping out Brian Cage to put yourself in there. So, little detail like that. But then what sucked is, like, as they're zipping him up, like, half the thumbtacks fell out and were sitting on the ring. So, it was nasty. Brian Cage lifted him up and powerbombed him outside the ring. But the problem was Darby Allin's in the body bag. And so he takes this nasty fall on the outside. But the problem is he's in a body bag, so he's not able to, like, get his arms out and, like, do a safe hit to the ground. So he's trapped inside this body bag all crunched up in a ball. And so he lands hard, awkwardly on the floor. I was like, ow. It just made for a really nasty fall there. And then all the thumbtacks that were left in the ring, I just felt bad for the remainder of the match. Other guys are trying to do their moves or they're getting knocked down, and some of them look like they fell near where the thumbtacks are at. Even Will Hobbs at one point, he got hit, I think, either from Lance Archer or something, and you could tell he's like right next to where all the thumbtacks were laying. So it's like, can someone get out there and just quickly like sweep it out or try to get all the thumbtacks out for the rest of the contenders, not trying being hurt? But yeah, it was made for just that was part of the awkwardness, I thought, for the remainder of the Battle Royale. Yeah, I mean, it with Darby Allin, as Jim Ross would say, he's tougher than a $2 steak. You know, yeah. You know that. All in all, Lance Archer won. This is what really screwed me over my predictions. I picked Eddie Kingston. Yeah, he was so close, man, but he didn't get the job done. Yeah, so let's talk about that finish. Well, real quick, also, I thought they missed out on a fun opportunity. So listen. Casino Battle Royale, it's about like surprise. Anytime you do a Battle Royale of some sort, even Royal Rumble, it's all about surprise and surprise entrance. Of course, we saw Matt Sydal. That was cool. Will Hobbs got a surprise. But like, I felt like, cause what the rules are, it was like teams of 4, right? Or 5 coming in groups of 5, yeah. Every 3 minutes. So you have these groups come in together. I thought, how badass would it have been if, okay, we know AEW kind of has like a little bit of a working relationship with NWA. For right now, at least that's how they got Thunder Rosa in on All Out. How cool would it have been one of the teams of 5 would have been an all NWA team, like 5 members of the NWA roster. Could have been like maybe James Storm, Eli Drake. I think we talked about that last week. Like it could have been a mixture of them, maybe Aaron Stevens, maybe Zicky Dice. Exactly. Like how cool would it have been? It's a team of 5 members from the NWA roster, like a team NWA coming in for this Battle Royale. Because I think you could, I mean, I don't know. Listen, the politics, the business side of things, I know the powers that be got to work it out, like Tony Khan and Billy Corgan. But from a fantasy standpoint, it would have been cool if the 5 of them would have came in, wrecked shop. It's like almost like a little mini invasion, maybe. But also, it would have been cool if the 5 of them come out and they come out to the Dawkins theme song, Into the Fire, which was the first theme song for NWA Power. So I would have popped hard for that. Be like, oh my God. And listen, there were guys in the Battle Royal they could have easily swapped out. Like Billy Gunn, he didn't need to be there. He didn't last that long. But he's the one. But that was 20 years ago. He's still the one, Billy Gunn. You could have put his son in there. At least got his son. He's more. I see him more just sitting ringside on episodes of Dynamite than anything else. Like, put him in there. Give him something to do. But it's like, you know, everyone complains about WWE have all these older guys taking up young people's positions. Like, look at that. Like, Billy Gunn should not have been in there. He didn't bring any. He was eliminated pretty quickly from Brian Cage. So it's like, what was the point of having him in there? But anyway, that was my mindset. So, let's talk about the finish. It was kind of funky as far as Lance Archer and Eddie Kingston are fighting in the corner, and it took a minute to get to their spots in the corner. Jake the Snake, like, I love him, but he was like wandering over and he kept like holding up his snake bag, and we assume there's a snake in there. But he kept like it was like he was begging for change from Eddie Kingston. That's why he was like, hello, sir, can I spare some change? Like he kept, I was just thinking that. Right? Like he was just holding his bag up and not doing anything. Like I think at one point he like hit Eddie with it. So we never saw an actual snake. Like I thought he was going to take the snake out of the bag and like wave it in Eddie Kingston's face. Like the announcer said, Eddie Kingston's afraid of snakes. It was like, well, we never actually saw the snake. So, like, take it out of the bag. I mean, I guess Eddie saw it looking down inside the bag, but we never saw it. So, like, get him out. And so, I mean, for all we know, it could have been just a bag of sand. Like, nothing was in there for all we knew, but it's like he kept holding up the bag. And then at one point, he swings and hits Eddie with the bag. I'm like, you're using the snake as a weapon. Like, that poor snake is, like, bouncing around, getting its head knocked in off Eddie Kingston. So, anyway, it just looked really awkward. But then finally, Lance Archer knocked out Eddie Kingston and won the Battle Royal. So, yeah, he's the new number one contender. And he was going to get a future championship opportunity match against whoever wins the main event, which we'll get into in a little bit. So, yeah, like I said, it was a little messy, not little, very messy, overbooked Casino Battle Royale. But listen, that's how they usually work out. I mean, how many times has a Battle Royale worked out perfectly? It was like super, smooth and perfect
the
story.
1992 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, if that, like once every 30 years, if that. So, oh my God. So it's over with now. And next up, we saw the Broken Rules match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. Listen, I mean, everyone knows what happened now at this point. So they start out in the concourse area. Matt Hardy's walking around. We see Sammy Guevara come out from behind, and a golf cart has Matt Hardy's face on there, X'd out, it looked like, and trying to get revenge for what Matt Hardy did to him a few months ago, where he ran him over with the golf cart. So he tries to run over Matt Hardy with the golf cart. Matt jumps out of the way. Sammy crashes, and then they start fighting. And then they go on top of was it a scissor lift? Is that the term what it's called? The not forklift, but like I think it's scissor lift. Scissor lift,
yeah.
So they go up on top. They're both fighting. Matt tries to do what's that finisher of his, or where he's trying to throw off Sammy off the top there. They go about 10.
Oh, the side effect.
Side effect. They go about 10, 15 feet in the air. Sammy counters and spears Matt Hardy. Unfortunately, the table position down below, which had some like face mask and was like a little bit of like a merch table. Unfortunately, where they flew off the top, they missed a good portion of the table and the top half of their body, specifically Matt Hardy. The back of his head and neck and shoulders hit hard on the concrete, and we all know what happened. He was knocked out. Ref Aubrey, what's her name? Aubrey Ref, or I keep saying Aubrey Ref.
Aubrey Edwards, Ref Aubrey.
Yeah, Ref Aubrey.
Yeah, man. Look, she throws up the X, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was still kind of a work a little bit because we've seen WWE do it before, where they throw up the X, but it's still kind of a work. But once Matt got up and you saw like he's gone, there's nobody home, the glazy look in his eyes, you're like, oh yeah. But I thought it would have added to the story, if they had stopped the match. Matt Hardy, he's an older man, he's like mid to late 40s.
Yeah.
Just a couple of years ago, his tailbone and spine were fusing together, and he could barely walk.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this adds to the story more. And once Matt is okay, they can pick this up. But no, it continued. Tony Khan has spoken about their decision to have the match continue, and it nothing pretty much else happened. It was a couple punches here and there, and Sammy gets thrown through a platform.
Okay, we all know about the big debate. So yeah, Matt Hardy was knocked out. Aubrey throws up the X sign, and you could tell Sammy Guevara, I think he's trying to read the situation, what's going on. But of course, he's trying to stay at kayfabe and act like he wants to still attack Matt. But she's pushing him, like, go away, go away. And finally, like, one of the doctors or whoever grabs him and starts pulling him away. So from a kayfabe standpoint, he's trying to act like he wants more, but he's being held back. So he starts backing off. She throws up the X sign again. And I was like, wow, okay, that's dangerous. Like something's, because listen, we all try to believe, everything that happens on TV for what it is. But like in pro wrestling, when a ref throws up the X sign, that's supposed to be like the one thing that's taken seriously or like legit. Like when a ref throws up the X sign, that's like, everything stops. You got to respect what's going on there. Got to break character, and like people's health is taken seriously at that point. So when I saw that, I'm like, something's not right, because like Matt was laying there like still, he was not moving. I'm like, crap. All of a sudden he starts finally like waking up, moving around, and Sammy's like coming back, and Sammy's trying to lift him up, but you could tell Matt has no legs under him, so he's like keeps stumbling over, and they're stumbling over each other. I'm like, oh, this is bad. So it's like he's out of it, and so she's trying to throw up the X sign. They call the bell, and Sammy gets taken off, like walking off, and then Matt gets up and he starts walking, and I'm like, oh no! Like you can look at his eyes; he's like gone. He's like looking past everyone. He's not there. And he keeps walking, and I'm like, what is he doing? Like, people need to grab him and, like, say, no, stop moving. And the doctor's, like, I think next to him and, like, holding him. And I'm thinking, okay, they cut to the announcers. They're talking. I'm like, okay, that's the end of it. It's unfortunate the match didn't finish, but it looks like they're moving on if they're cutting to the announcers. Like, just get him out of there and just move on to the next thing. But unfortunately, all of a sudden they cut back to Matt, and he's still walking up following Sammy, and all of a sudden they start, like, hitting each other again, and the bell rings. I'm like, no, what's going on? Like, stop that. And they go over to that one tower, and they start climbing, and I'm like, no. And then finally, Sammy, they're up high, and then Matt hits Sammy, and he falls, and they count to 10, and Matt Hardy wins. So it was a very bad match. Listen, you could tell something was not right with Matt Hardy. He was knocked out, not feeling well. You got to stop the match. Like, you got to look out for their safety. And, like, later on in the night, they try to say the doctor checked Matt and he was cleared to keep going. It's like, no, he was in that, like, couple minute window. That's not enough time to check someone if they pass all concussion protocol in that quick setting. So I just thought that was a bad move, that they shouldn't have let that match continue. To just stop it. I bet you what happened, maybe Matt was thinking, because remember the stipulation, it was a broken rules match. If Matt loses, he has to leave AEW. So I'm sure maybe Matt was like, this match can't end because if I lose, then I'm gone. And I'm thinking, listen, this is pro wrestling. You can make up new storylines on the fly and change it up and call it like a no contest, and they can have a rematch down the road. And then if you want to add that stipulation later. But I was like, for the safety of Matt Hardy, they should have not let that continue. And then later on in the night, he went to the hospital, and the reports are, as of right now, saying he doesn't have a concussion, but still a very scary moment overall. So I think, unfortunately, because of that, I think the rest of the show suffered from it. I felt like there was like a black cloud hanging over the show for the rest of the night, and I felt like the whole vibe of the show was different. And I think at that point on, the crowd really was kind of dead, and there were reports even late at night, it was still very hot, like 95 degrees. It was very humid, so who knows if they were properly staying hydrated, but I felt the crowd was out of it. And so that's why I said if you were to talk to me Saturday night, my opinion was a little more negative. Because even for me, I'm watching this, and that took me out of it for the rest of the night because I was concerned about Matt Hardy's health and how they handled it. And I'm checking Twitter and everything in real time and seeing all the negative comments online. So it just took me out of my mindset for the rest of the night for All Out. And that's why I kind of had like a negative opinion about the pay-per-view. But like I said, once I was able to sleep on it and just watch it again and just focus on the matches and not necessarily Matt Hardy's situation, then I realized there was a lot of good wrestling for the show, and it was still, I thought, a good pro wrestling pay-per-view. But anyway, that's where I was coming from as far as my disclaimer early on in the show. But anyway, I'm glad to see Matt Hardy's doing okay. Tony Khan said he's going to be on Dynamite to thank the fans this week. So I just hope Matt Hardy, stays okay and no more like crazy spots off high places for a while, if ever again. So we'll see how that plays out. So we jump up to a match that I was super looking forward to. The AEW Women's Championship match, taking on the champion Hikaru Shida versus the NWA Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. Philip, your thoughts on this match?
This is the best women's match in AEW history. I will gladly say that. I mean, it was hard hitting. Thunder Rosa brought some of that stuff she learned in Japan. That she's the international something champion in the Joshi Pro. So she could have been like Thunder Rosa 3 belts or something like that. Yeah. And of course, Hikaru Shida, she comes from the Japanese, the Joshi style. So a lot of knee strikes. It was really hard hitting. Thunder Rosa kicking out of the Falcon's Arrow at 1. I was like, oh my God. I was like, holy Shida. all that good fun stuff. But all in all, Shida with, I forget what she calls her knee strike. It's kind of like Shinsuke's Kinshasa or a Boomaye, whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3 gets the job done. Decisive win for Hikaru Shida. And I think this is really going to get people to talk more positively about the AEW Women's Division.
Yeah, I love this match too. I thought it was hard hitting. These girls did an amazing job. Throughout the whole match, and I think my one little problem was I think because of the negative effects from the Matt Hardy match, the black cloud that I think came with that. I think this match kind of suffered from that a little bit, as far as I think everyone was so concerned about Matt Hardy. I think it kind of took away from their match. But like I said, when I rewatched it, I loved the match. Like I said, hard hitting, big athletic spots, Thunder Rosa jumping off the chair, the kickoff Sheeta, and it just overall, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I mean, there were some moments where they were standing there waiting for each other to get to the next spot. So it was a little slow in some parts, but if you focus on their hard hitting moments, it was great. And I'm glad that AEW and NWA worked this out, to work together. I think part of it is maybe because there's the AEW women's division, it's not a super big roster, and also they are suffering from some injuries right now. So I'm glad that they were able to bring in Thunder Rosa in from the NWA and give her a top quality opponent at All Out, their big pay-per-view. So overall, it was awesome. I will hope Thunder Rosa can maybe make another appearance. Maybe they can have a rematch down the road. Who knows? Maybe Sheeta can appear on a future episode of NWA Power and get a rematch, or Primetime Live at some point. I think it'd be kind of cool if they get a rematch on NWA's turf somewhere, and I hopefully they keep the cross promotion going. I'd love to see them just keep working together, both companies. This is great for NWA since they're not running shows right now. It keeps their roster in the public eye. So love it, and I think this was a great opportunity for Thunder Rosa on a big stage, biggest match of her career, and just getting a lot of eyeballs for her in the NWA right now. So happy for her. And like I said, listen to the interview I did with her. A lot of great stuff we talked about. I could not believe, I don't know if you noticed that one part where she said to me that like the week before she got the call from NWA, she was going to try out to be a ref for the WWE. So very interesting where her life went for the better. And I'm just so happy for her that her career is still just taking off right now. Next up, we had the 8-man tag match. It was Team Cody versus the Dark Order. Team Cody was the Natural Nightmares, which consist of Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, also Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky taking on the Dark Order, which for this lineup, it was Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson, and Anna Jay was also ringside for them. So yeah, Philip, your thoughts on this match here?
Colt cost us a win here. I'm a part of the Dark Order, ladies and gentlemen. I joined. It's not a cult. It's a movement. It's a revolution, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Colt cost us a win, and it hurts. It really does. I mean, all in all, it was a generic 8-man tag.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I said this last week. Tony Khan just goes up to people, you, an 8-man tag team match player, holla, holla, holla.
Exactly. I'm with you. It was kind of thrown together. I mean, I get it. It's the follow-up from the beatdown Brody Lee gave Cody Rhodes a couple weeks ago in the Dark Order, taking out all his family and friends. So this is like the rematch, the revenge rematch for everyone involved. For me, and this was the one match I got wrong on my predictions, am I right? I picked Dark Order because, listen...
Yeah, this was it.
The reason I picked the Dark Order was because, like, listen, they got this new momentum going now. After Brody Lee became the new TNT champion after defeating Cody Rhodes, you got to keep that momentum going, and I thought they were going to get the win here and just keep dominating as this badass faction for AEW. But nonetheless, I was disappointed that they got the loss here. So Team Cody got the big win, and that promo after the match, Dustin Rhodes, oh my God, his energy and just his enthusiasm was like, we did it for you, Cody. And then Tony Schiavone told him that he's going to get a TNT championship match against Brody Lee on Dynamite this week. So super happy for him. He looks super pumped up, and he's like, man, I haven't had a title shot in years. So here he is in his early 50s getting a big title opportunity. And I will say this, like, for this match itself, like, honestly, I was kind of hoping Brody Lee was going to have a singles match. He's the TNT champion, and this is their big pay-per-view. Like, I wish this pay-per-view had more singles matches. It was a lot of tag matches or combinations of that on this pay-per-view. Not enough singles matches. And that's something I get a little, that kind of, I've noticed with AEW. They do a lot of that, and I wish they would do more singles matches to really push individual people on the roster. So when I saw this, I was like, Brody Lee should be in a one-on-one match on his own defending that championship at All Out, and then get someone else from the Dark Order to take his spot and have this be this 8-man tag. And, like, honestly, this type of match could easily been done on the buy-in show, but I get it. Team Cody, he's a EVP for the company, so the extension of his family and friends, I think that's probably why they thought it needs to be on the main show. But like an 8-man tag like this, it could easily be on the buy-in, but I get it since Brody Lee was also involved. I think since he's a champion, that's why I was on the main show. But anyway, if I was booking this, I would have had Brody Lee out, defending that title by himself on a separate match, and then having these 4-on-4 go at it earlier in the card. But, you know, it was fine. It was fun for what it was. You know, a lot of big moments from both sides, and, they got the win here for Cody and just that promo afterwards. And the big thing was, you know, we saw Brody Lee go in, like, crushing the competition, and then he would tag in Colt Cabana and be like, here, this is all you, finish it out. Ultimately, at the very end, he had that big, the clothesline, and he tagged in Colt Cabana and said, here, finish it. And Colt Cabana went for, what was it? The, backwards flip, what do you call it? Why am I spacing on it?
You're talking about that Superman pin thing he does?
Yeah, or no. At the finish of the match where he screwed up. So,
would he go for a moonsault or something?
Yeah. So Brody Lee clothesline, whoever it was, tagging Colt Cabana is like, here, you finish him and get the win. Colt Cabana screwed up. He went for the moonsault off the top rope. He missed, and then he got pinned. And then it looks like Brody Lee and the rest of the Dark Order got mad at Colt Cabana. So it looks like Brody Lee's going to kick out Colt Cabana. So I think that's ultimately the story here, was because Colt Cabana lost, he's not good enough to be part of the Dark Order. So I think that's why they sacrificed a loss tonight or that night in order just to push the story along for Colt Cabana. So ultimately that's what it was. So we did not see that being played out on Being the Elite, though. So I don't know if it's going to be on Dynamite or whatnot. So I'm curious about Colt Cabana's future in the Dark Order. And then next up, we had the big tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The champions, Kenny Omega and Adam Page, taking on FTR. Man, I rewatching it for a second time, this match was awesome. I did think it was a little long. It was almost 30 minutes long.
29 minutes and 40 seconds.
I think they could have easily done like a 20-minute match, and it's been a little more effective, because there was parts where it was like, this is really long. I was like, when's this going to end? But very fun match overall. Philip, your thoughts on it?
This is some old school tag team wrestling, brother. Let me tell you. Felt like I was looking at Tully and Arn back in 1986 out there, man. Let me tell you. I mean, it was good, man. I mean, this was really good. Like I said, it was old school, and then just Harwood and Wheeler showing like, hey, we may not be body guys, but we can really go in here. You know, you saw glimpses of it at the place we used to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to go that long with those guys, and you know, we finally saw the dissension of Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. The V trigger to Omega after I think it was Hardwood moved out the way, and Hangman went to sleep because that's how effective the V trigger is. And all in all, that caused the assisted pile driver. Took two of them to beat Hangman, but they got the job done. And now we have new tag team champions, the first team to ever hold the NXT, the Raw, the SmackDown, and AEW tag team titles.
Yeah, so congrats to them. So yeah, FTR got the big win. Yeah, the new tag team champions. And yeah, we saw Kenny Omega and Hangman Page break up. And so for the match itself, it was awesome. FTR, God, they're just so good. I mean, to be able to combine the old school wrestling style, but present it in today's world where I think a lot of people are more used to the high flying and just kind of like the AEW's presentation of like the more indie style. The fact that FTR can bring their old school mentality and look so good. I mean, just the matchup, the chemistry between them. And Kenny Omega, you know, he's a high flyer himself. Hangman's a hard hitting guy himself. So all four of them working together in this match, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I think it was a little too long. They could easily shaved off 5-10 minutes, and it's still been very effective. I love FTR. They're using so many old school spots, like Scott's, the Steiner brothers, their move a couple times in this match. There was just, oh God, I love how they're able to incorporate so many old school tag team spots that I grew up watching and was a fan of, and use it in their matchups today. And so I just geek out so hard because to me, those spots look so cool. And like I was a big fan of the Steiner Brothers finisher, so that the fact that they were using that was so good. I loved it.
Hey, it's okay, man. When you and I hit the ring, when everything opens up again, we'll be doing stuff from the Nasty Boys, Demolition, the
Dudley Boys.
Dudley's, Ian, and Axel Rotten. We'll be doing it all, brother.
Yeah, totally. So FTR, and so they get the win here. They did the pile driver twice, and I really thought, like, when they did it the first time, I thought that was the finish. But the fact they did it one more time was like, whoa. So I don't know, like, if that was a little overkill. I mean, I get it because they were trying. I think it was Heyman who got the pin. So I guess they're trying to sell the fact that, you know, it takes a lot to finally knock him out. But like, I kind of was hoping maybe just one time, but the fact they did it twice. But I love the finish as far as we saw, Kenny Omega. They were trying to do the buckshot. They missed. Kenny came back and tried to go for the kick. They ducked, hit Hangman Page, knocked him out, and then they did the pile driver on him. I thought it was a great finish overall. And then, FTR celebrating. They left a beer by Hangman's body, so kind of like thanks for your help, pal, and kind of saying bye to him. And then we saw the two of them in the ring, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and Hangman's knocked down. He's trying to stand up, but then he falls down, and Kenny just steps to the side and lets him fall face first into the mat. So I was like, uh-oh, here we go. And I thought Kenny was going to take that tray and start beating Hangman with it, but he didn't. He came in the ring to scare off FTR, which he did, but he didn't do anything else. I thought it would have been really effective for the heel turn, or as far as breaking him up, if he would start beating him with it, but he didn't. He dropped it down and he just left. And then we saw him go in the back and he sees the Young Bucks and he's like, come with me, let's go. And they're walking, and the Young Bucks like, stop, can we talk about this? He's like, no, we're done. We got to move on. And he says, we got to have a clean break or a clean start or wherever he said. He kept saying clean a couple times. So a lot of people were like, oh, is this an Easter egg for the return of the cleaner?
Yeah, and you notice his hair's not blonde anymore because the cleaner has dark hair.
Yeah. So he ultimately goes to the truck, and he said, you guys want to come with me? Let's go. The Young Bucks did not jump in the car with him, and he does by himself, and he drives off, and the Young Bucks are standing there. So it just, the Elite is broken up right now. Kenny's off doing his own thing now. Young Bucks obviously did not go with Kenny, but they told Heyman he's out of the Elite a couple weeks ago. So they're on their own thing right now. So the Elite is very much shattered right now. And if you watch the new episode of Being the Elite, you see at the very end the photo of the Elite, and it's like a shattered photograph. So the Elite is completely done right now. So what do you think is going to happen next with everyone involved?
Well, with the shattered photograph, Nickelback was playing in my head. Look at this photograph. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they will get back together because once fans come back, they are going to do blood and guts. Yeah. And so I think there will be a common enemy that all of them come together. Matt, Nick, Kenny, Hangman, and Cody. Yeah. Where they all come together and like, look, we need to put aside our differences to beat this common enemy.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens, because I think what you and I predicted, like we think Kenny should have been the one to go heel, and it looks like he is going that route. I think Hangman in the long run has become a huge baby face from this, and I hope that Kenny Omega and Hangman have a big rivalry now, and hopefully that will be like the big rivalry for 2021. Hopefully maybe for the AEW World Championship. I can see Kenny going heel and then ultimately getting another title shot with Moxley, because they do have history together going back to last year. I can see them having another match for the championship and Kenny Omega winning it and becoming the new Cleaner 2.0 and as AEW World Champion, and Hangman Page could be on the chase after him for it. So I think that could be the best feud next year. So listen, as far as long form storytelling, I'm all for it, and I see this how it's going to play out. I'm all excited for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens next, especially on Dynamite. Next up was the Mimosa Mayhem match featuring our friend Le Champion, the demo god himself, Chris Jericho, taking on Orange Cassidy. And we saw these two like big pools of what appears to be orange juice. It looks like Tang. But
yeah, Jay from the Rudo podcast, he hit me up and was like, man, that's some Tang.
It was. Come on. I mean, it was not saying the line or anything like that. It looks like two big.
It looked like Tampico, bro.
Yeah. So it was these two big pools of it on each side of the ring. And listen, the stipulation was you can win either by pinfall submission or fully submerging your opponent's body in the orange juice. And so the match itself, it played out. It was a good, decent match, about 15 minutes long. Philip, your thoughts on it?
Well, my thoughts on Phil Mosa Mayhem. Yeah, I mean, they started off nice with Code Breaker to start it off 1-2, almost got the job done. You knew somebody was going in it. You knew that was going to happen. Yeah. I thought Jericho would have won by pinfall, but yet and still somehow he still winds up in the mimosa. Yeah, that did not happen.
Yeah.
The Superman punch, Jericho almost failed, and then Cassidy takes off the sleeve and he's like, "No, you're going through it." Boom, forearm, and our buddy, he floated through the sky. Landed in the tang, and he drank it in, man.
Okay, couple things. So, listen, the match itself, it was a basic wrestling match between the two of them. Nothing like super spectacular. It was still hard hitting as far as the third match between the two of them. There's a lot of teases as far as like Jericho trying to put Orange Cassidy's face in there. He got his face in there, but that was it. And he pulls out. Jericho, I think, got his foot in there at one point. So there was these teases of like, different body parts were going in, but then they yanked them right back out. So they were teasing like, and the announcer kept saying, it's just a part of their body. You gotta get the whole body in there. So listen, like the whole stipulation of submission or pinfall was included. You didn't need that. Like everyone knew someone was gonna go into the orange juice. Like they wouldn't have those two big pools of it for nothing. Like they should have easily just took out the stipulation. Like the winner only could be crowned by getting your opponent in the orange juice. Because how much of a disappointment that would have been if Jericho would have pinned Orange Cassidy, which is a regular pinfall, and you have these two wasted big old pools of orange juice for nothing. So you knew when they brought them out, someone was going in there. So there was no point of having the stipulation of pinfall or submission because it would have been a total waste. But anyway, the match itself was basic for what it was. As you said, Chris Jericho was knocked in there from Orange Cassidy. He fell back. At one point, he was going to do Jericho had Orange Cassidy up to do the Razor's Edge, and Jericho's foot was slipping on the rope. I was getting nervous. Like, no, don't have a Matt Sydal moment on us right here. But he collected himself, he stopped, and then, ultimately things turned around. Orange Cassidy got the victory. Jericho loved how he flopped into that water. And the fact he was just laying there, it looked like he was relaxing. It looked refreshing. I'm sure how hot it was, the humidity. I'm sure for him, it was probably nice just to get some liquids on his body and cool off. That's what it looked like to me.
Have you seen the meme, 2019? It's like him in the pool after he loses or the title was stolen, and then 2020, he's just lying in a batch of Tang.
Yeah. So I loved it, that imagery there. And listen, real talk. Okay, Jericho lost by falling into a pool of orange juice. He wasn't pinned. He wasn't submitted. So he still looks strong. Because let's be honest, Jericho's been one of the most protected guys in AEW in the entire run so far of the company's existence. So in this third match, he didn't lose by pinfall or submission. So he still looks strong. He just lost because he fell into a pool of orange juice. But at the same time, Orange Cassidy did get the victory. So he's got 2 wins over Chris Jericho. So for Orange Cassidy's value, it's definitely gone up. And so that's something I wanted to ask you real quick. Couple things. One, Mick Foley put out a tweet to Jericho applauding him for help putting Orange Cassidy over. And it's very cool that Jericho at this age, he's not demanding. I forgot the actual tweet. I don't know if you can look it up or if you have it on you, but he pretty much said Jericho's always helping out the business. He's not demanding the business help him out. He's asking what he can do for the business, for the wrestling business. So I thought that was cool that Jericho at this point in his career, he's helping to put other talent over, younger talent over. So, this is something I've heard quite a few people talk about. And, Phil, I want to ask you your opinion if you agree. I think it's really cool at this point in Jericho's career. I mean, he's accomplished everything he's accomplished so much in his career. And so you would think at this point, he could be greedy and just want to keep putting himself over. But I think it's cool at this point in his career, he's willing to help out, get over younger talent. And so I think that's really cool because I think in many ways it's like a make good for what happened to him in the 90s. You think about young Chris Jericho in the 90s when he was in WCW. All the older guys, the vets were taking up all the screen time and putting themselves over and not helping put the younger talent over. And that's ultimately why Chris Jericho left and went to WWF. So I think it's very cool that Chris Jericho, he is not repeating history like that. He's doing the opposite of what he dealt with in WCW. In AEW, he sees someone that he likes and he's going to help put them over. So just your thoughts on that.
Well, the tweet from Mick Foley, one of the most giving wrestlers of all time, Chris Jericho. He asked not what the wrestling business can do for him. He asked what he can do for the wrestling business.
Yeah.
Hashtag AEW All Out. A little play on JFK's quote from his inaugural address.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. I mean, Jericho, he gets it. That's why he's been able to stay in the game for this long, and that's why he's able to be at the level he's at today, whether you like the in-ring stuff or not, man. He's constantly in the conversation for a reason. That's why he's the Reverend of Reinvention. Yeah. And for him to be in the ring, like even last year with Jungle Boy getting a little bit of steam from just being in there with Jericho. The same for Scorpio Sky.
Yep.
And then he made Orange Cassidy. Jericho could have easily, thrown his pull around. His backstage game is most likely strong enough to where, no, I need to win the last one, but he didn't do that. He sees the bigger picture, and I respect that 100%. That's what's up.
Exactly. That's like I said. I mean, that's very cool that Jericho, he's doing his part. Like, listen, he was the first AEW world champion. He's accomplished so much in his career. So I think at this point in his career, he realizes, okay, what can he do to start giving back and make sure the wrestling business can continue and grow for the future? And he's paying it forward. And I applaud Chris Jericho for that. And that's another reason why I'm just a huge fan of him, is he's helping out the business for the better. And so let me ask you this, though. So the big story in this match was, is Orange Cassidy a main eventer? Jericho kept bringing that up and whatnot. And like, can he be a main eventer, or is he going to be a main eventer? And so I think from this match, or now the big question is, like, do you think Orange Cassidy's a main eventer now?
Whoa. Mick Foley, was he supposed to be a main eventer? Hell, The Undertaker wasn't supposed to be a main eventer. Now, I know those are two completely different things, but the point is, you never know. This is a completely different day and age in wrestling. When the crowds were actually there, who was the most over guy? Mm-hmm. It was Orange Cassidy. Yeah. All the guy did was put his hands in his pockets.
Yeah.
So like, well, he's over with the people. I think he will actually have to talk. If they put the title on him, stuff like that. But I can see him being a TNT champion for sure.
Yeah. And so, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So listen, I think like right at this moment, is he a main eventer like for the championship? No, obviously not. I think his act, the way he presents himself, it's still not main event material. Listen, like, okay, I think where he's at now versus like a year ago, he's obviously more people know who he is. So I think he's more popular and more people know of him. But does that mean he's a main eventer? No. And listen, based on his character and his gimmick, you can't get by on that to be a world champion. I think in order to be a world champion, you got to be able to speak and talk and build up emotions from the crowd and getting people behind you and just really help build up a story based on his gimmick. Yeah, what he does, it's a gimmick as far as like a novelty act in many ways. And so I think if he's going to want to become a world champion, his character's going to have to evolve more. He's going to have to start talking on a regular basis. And my concern, though, is we've been seeing a lot of Orange Cassidy in the last couple months. So I wonder if there's going to be a burnout factor, though, with him. You know what I mean? It's like we see a lot of this character over and over, and we're kind of starting to see the same stuff. And so it was great, like during the debate with Eric Bischoff and Chris Jericho, to see him start talking. That was cool. We got to see more of that, and we got to see the character evolve more. If not, it's going to get old fast. So that's ultimately where I'm getting at, is like, I think there's a difference between main eventer and just being more popular and more people know of who you are. So I think Orange Cassidy, if he wants to become a world champion, the character's got to change and become more relatable in many ways, and give people got to connect with him more, and he's got to do a better job connecting with the audience other than just giving a thumbs up and putting his hands in the pocket and acting like he doesn't care about anything. So like I said, the character itself, it's not main event or a world champion worthy, but there is potential for him to grow because I think the fans do love him, and he's much more than an indie darling now. So we shall wait and see how this plays out. I do hope for the best for Orange Cassidy, and his character can grow even more in his stock value. But I do applaud Chris Jericho for helping him get there, and the fact that more people probably love him now and know of him. Yeah, a big part of that is due to Chris Jericho. All right, the main event for the night for the AEW World Championship, it was Jon Moxley, the world champion, taking on MJF with Wardlow in his corner. Man, this match...
This is blasphemy.
Why? Please.
But I know I picked Mox to win because I was thinking with my head I wanted to keep my baby, but I lost it anyway. He cheated. He is a cheater. He signed a legal document that states he cannot use that move. And what does he do to Maxwell? He breaks the... I think we should sue.
Really?
I'm in the MJF camp. I think we should sue for damages done upon Maxwell because of the banned paradigm shift.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, guys, I mean, come on. You know when a move is banned in a wrestling match, they're going to find a way to use it anyway. I mean, just the shot of the Dynamite doesn't ring. MJF's looking forward. He's looking forward, and then he sees it, and he and Mox look up together like, oh, and then Mox looks over. The ref's busy with Wardlow, drops him 1, 2, 3. We Mox retains. Yep. It was a bloody match. It got pretty physical. There was some nice wrestling done by Maxwell. I thought it was good.
Yeah. So the story going into this is MJF can be as like hardcore as Moxley, and we saw that in the Go Home show. He busted open Moxley in the head and got him bleeding, and he was trying to prove that he's just as tough and extreme as Moxley here. But of course, there was a stipulation a couple weeks ago that he had to sign a contract for he can't use his finisher, the paradigm shift. And so that was the story throughout this match, is he would try to do it, and the ref would tell Moxley, no, stop, you can't do it. Think with your head. If you do it, you're disqualified and you lose the championship. So he kept doing it. Also, Moxley is known for going outside the ring a lot for his matches. So MJF was like trying to be more of a traditional wrestler and keep everything inside the ring. So it was these two different styles going at it. Now listen, both of them, neither one of them are high flyers. They're both just more traditional wrestlers, while Moxley's more of the brawler type. So I enjoyed the fact that they're both not high flying. They're more just basic wrestling in the ring. Now, I think for some people who are used to kind of seeing like a Young Bucks type match on an AEW show, this match was much different in presentation. So yeah, they were in the ring the majority of the time, just working each other over. MJF was really focusing on Moxley's arm and just beating that up and really making it difficult for him to lift up his MJF for the finisher. So I enjoyed the match overall from more of the technical standpoint of it all. Great match here. And it also did go pretty long, right? It was like about 23 minutes long. So, I think it could have maybe been just a tad shorter for that type of match itself. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it. And as you said, the finish was very creative as far as MJF, Wardlow's trying to distract the ref. He throws the ring in. MJ's trying to find it, turns around, both looking at Moxley, and Moxley sees the ref has his back turned. He's like, perfect opportunity to do his finisher. He did it and was able to get the 1, 2, 3 and retain his title. So, MJF finally gets a loss in 2020, right? It's his first loss of the year. Is that right, Philip?
It's his first loss ever in singles competition.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, he lost that tag match, but Wardlow got pinned in
that.
That's right.
That's right. So yeah, Moxley retains, still your AEW World Champion, and sitting ringside, we saw Lance Archer, who won the Casino Battle Royale match. So Moxley saw him, flipped him off, and that's gonna be his next opponent. So I don't know when that's gonna happen. If it's gonna be on episode Dynamite or at the next pay-per-view. We saw them announce Full Gear on November 7th. So in 2 months, a week before my birthday. So we'll start the early birthday celebrations then in November.
Huey, how are you gonna do your birthday in the quarantine era?
I don't know. Hopefully,
I mean, a lot can change in that time period.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people do the right thing and do what with their mask and whatnot.
Wear a mask, wash your hands, wash your ears.
Thank you. So, I'm excited though between Lance Archer and Moxley. I don't think. I hate to say, I don't see Lance Archer winning here, but my brother reminded me this is a good rematch because the two of them went at it in New Japan for the U.S. title at, I believe it was Wrestle Kingdom. They had the Texas, oh God, was it Texas match?
Was it like a Texas death match or something?
It was like a hardcore match.
Yeah.
So we saw them. They do have history together over in New Japan. They went after that U.S. title, and Lance Archer did get the victory there because I think Moxley had to drop it because he was already, or he's about to be champion with AEW, or he was, things were getting real busy with AEW, so he dropped it then. So I'm looking forward to it. So they do have chemistry together. They do have history together. I don't know how much the commentators will acknowledge that and saying that they do have history at the end of last year or their time together in New Japan. But nonetheless, whenever it does take place, I do envision Moxley retaining because I still think if and when he does lose it, it'll probably be to Kenny Omega if Kenny Omega does go heel. But nonetheless, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to that. And just seeing Jake the Snake and Moxley, I don't know, stare each other down, have some moments in the ring, that's going to be exciting. Also,
I would pop if Jake dropped Mox with a DDT.
And says, that's how it's done.
Hey, that was pretty good, dude.
Yeah, but right? I mean, tell him, like, you don't know how to do a DDT. I know how to do it better. I was the innovator of it. But
that's how you do it, boy.
Yeah. Also, real quick before I forget, that was also kind of cool, very funny when Kip Sabian has interviewed in the backstage with Penelope Ford with Alex Marvez, and he dropped or she showed up the sign for Kip Sabian's Twitch handle, and then the little message at the bottom, this is approved by, brought to you by All Elite Wrestling. So taking a jab at WWE and all the latest third party news that's been going on in the last couple days. So very funny of that. But listen, overall, like I said, if you would talk to me Saturday night, I had a very negative opinion about the pay-per-view. But part of that was because I got so caught up in the Matt Hardy situation and just how, like I said, I think it really brought a black cloud over the rest of the night and really had a bad vibe. It changed the vibe up, and I thought the crowd was really dead, so there was like no energy from them, and so I thought these matches were very like quiet and just it just felt it was dragging. It was very long too. Like, listen, the main show plus the buy-in, I think it was like almost 4.5 hours. So it's a lot of wrestling. So I think, keep it to like under 3 hours, but watching a second time. So if anyone out there, if you have time, watch it again, focus on the matches. And the matches were still good overall. The majority of them were good pro wrestling matches. So I'll just leave it at that. And, but I'm with you, Philip. Like, I was thinking more like a C+ grade overall if you take into account everything involved. So anyway, we're excited for this week's episode, Dynamite and the fallout from All Out, no pun intended. If you're looking for something to watch in the meantime, check out Being the Elite. It's got a little more follow-up of the whole situation with Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks and what's the status of the Elite. So looking forward to that and the new story, how it's going to play out and build up and see what happens moving forward. So on that note, Philip, let's go home for tonight. Philip, where all the Kliqsters can find you online?
All right, here we go. Follow me on Instagram at HeelAntwine, HeelAntwint. That's my Twitter as well, HeelAntwine. Don't try to find me on Facebook. Complex Conversations, COMPLEXX Conversations, Twitter and Instagram, YouTube. Cheeklate TV, Instagram, YouTube. I'm sure you know how to spell that. It's pretty simple. Bulletcast, the Bulletcast on Instagram, the Bulletcast on YouTube, Bulletcast on Twitter. We've got some big stuff coming. This Tuesday, I don't know when this is going up, but Tuesday, Bimbo Jimbo is on the show. We discussed his commentary with All Pro Wrestling, his work with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and the other ventures he's doing right now. Wednesday, the most must-see NWA television champion of all time, Outlandish Zicky Dice. He's on the show. That's really cool. I have an Impact Wrestling star coming on Friday, and then Sunday I'm doing an actual in-person interview, socially distanced, of course, ladies and gentlemen. But we got some big stuff coming, and I'm excited for you guys to check this content out. And I'm happy. We're trying to move the needle. I promised the people 15 interviews. This will be like maybe 9 or 10. So we're meeting the quota. We're almost there. Still got a little bit of time left in 2020. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, awesome. And I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83, at In The Kliq, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well, also YouTube. And please, as always, remember to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and please help spread the word. Pay it forward that way. Be like Chris Jericho. Pay it forward. Share this podcast with all the people you know who, if you know a pro wrestling fan in your life, please tell them about this podcast. Keep promoting it for us. We would appreciate all the love and support. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line because Huey said so.